You know that place you dream of visiting? Maybe it's a perfect beach, a deep, ancient rainforest, or a city just buzzing with life. We all have one. But what if I told you that the very act of loving these places, of wanting to go see them, could be the thing that puts them most at risk? That's the huge paradox we're going to dive into today, and we'll be looking at it through the lens of Malaysia.
So, really, it all comes down to this one single question. And it's a question that everyone, from governments to local communities, and yeah, even us as travelers, we all have to grapple with. Is tourism this incredible blessing that lifts places up? Or is it a curse that comes with a hidden cost? So, where do we even start to find an answer? Well, we need some kind of benchmark, right? A North Star to aim for. And that's where this idea of sustainable tourism comes in. Think of it as the gold standard. It's that perfect balance that countries like Malaysia are trying to hit with their national tourism policies. The whole point isn't to stop traveling, but to completely rethink how we do it. Okay, let's kick things off with the most tangible piece of this puzzle, the environment. And this is where the story gets really interesting, because tourism plays a dual role. It can be both a powerful protector and a serious polluter. So on the one hand, tourism can honestly be nature's best friend. You know those fees you pay to enter a national park like Kinabalu? That money directly funds the rangers protecting the wildlife and the trails. In places like Sukau, tourists paying to see orangutans in the wild makes that rainforest more valuable left standing than it would be if it were cut down for palm oil plantations. It's a direct economic incentive for conservation. But, and you knew there was a but coming, there is a flip side to this coin. When growth happens too fast, when a number of visitors explodes before a place is ready to handle it, that's when things start to go wrong. That beautiful line between preserving a place and degrading it becomes incredibly thin. And this table here, it shows that chain reaction perfectly. Let's say a whole bunch of new resorts pop up on an island like Pulau Redang. All those extra people can overload the sewage systems. That untreated waste flows into the sea, which causes algae to bloom, and that bloom literally suffocates the coral reefs. Or think about mountain developments like in the Genting Highlands. Clearing forests on steep slopes can increase the risk of landslides. Heck, even something as simple as a tourist boat dropping its anchor can smash a piece of coral that took hundreds of years to grow. And it's not just about the damage we might cause, it's also about the resources we consume. Let's just take water, for example. The average tourist staying in a luxury hotel can use up to 3 times more water per day than a local resident. 3 times. And seeing it laid out like this in a chart really drives the point home, doesn't it? That gap is huge, and you can imagine the kind of strain this puts on the local water supply, especially on an island like Langkawi. In the dry season, this can actually lead to water shortages for the very communities that call the place home. All right, so let's pivot a little bit. Let's move from the natural environment to the human one, to the communities, because tourism's impact goes so much deeper than just the landscape. It gets right to the heart of a local culture, and just like with the environment, it can be a force for revitalization or for erosion. Now, when it's managed well, tourism can be an absolute lifeline for a culture. Suddenly, there's a real economic reason for a young person in Kelantan to learn a traditional craft that might have otherwise died out. The new roads or better internet built to serve tourists? Well, the locals get to use them too. And the money from visitors helps preserve historic buildings in places like Georgetown and Malacca that might have been torn down otherwise. But again, there's that tipping point. When the wave of visitors becomes a tsunami, it can introduce what some sociologists call an alien norm. It's this subtle, or sometimes not so subtle, pressure that can create friction and slowly wear away at the social fabric of a place. And this leads to a really fascinating and kind of sad phenomenon called cultural commodification. Here's what that looks like. Imagine a sacred traditional dance, one that's supposed to last all night and holds deep spiritual meaning for a community, while for the tourist market, that gets chopped up, sanitized, and turned into a 5-minute performance in a hotel lobby. The movements might be the same, but the soul, the entire context, has been stripped out just to make it an easy product to sell. Then you've got something called the demonstration effect. It's pretty straightforward, really. When local kids see tourists with different clothes, different gadgets, and different social norms, it's natural for that to have an influence. Now, this isn't about saying it's good or bad, but it can create a real gap between generations, changing everything from how people dress to how they interact with their elders. So what does all this friction actually look like over time? Well, a sociologist named Doxy actually created a model for it. It starts with euphoria. Everyone's excited, there's new money, new jobs. But as the numbers grow, that can slip into apathy, where tourists just become part of the background. Then, when the crowds get too big, it turns into annoyance, frustration with traffic, noise, and overcrowding. And in the worst cases, it can end in open antagonism, where locals actively resent the tourist. We've seen this cycle play out in hotspots all over the world. Okay, so we've looked at the good, the bad, and the complicated. The big question is, where do we go from here? How do we possibly find a way to balance all of this? I think the most important thing to remember is that there are no easy black and white answers here. Tourism is an incredibly powerful force. You can think of it like fire. Fire can provide warmth and cook your food, but if it gets out of control, it can burn down the entire village. The goal isn't to put out the fire, it's to learn how to manage it wisely. And that brings us right back to the beginning and right back to us. Because ultimately, the future of these incredible places isn't just in the hands of governments or big hotel chains. It's in our hands, too. Every time we book a trip, every hotel we choose, every tour we take, we're casting a vote for the kind of tourism we want to exist. So the final question isn't for a government or a textbook, it's for you. The next time you travel, what impact will you choose to make?